Hi, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to tackle the problem that you see on the screen. Given an array of non-negative integers r, your initial position at start index of the array, when you are at index I, you can jump to I plus array of I or I minus array of I. Check to see whether you can reach any index of value 0. That was kind of confusing, so let's look at an example. Let's say that we start at position 5, which is index 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we start here. We can either go I plus array of I, so we can go here, or we can go down to here. So I plus array of I leads us to index 6, which is right here. And I minus array of I will lead us to index 4. Let's say that we're at index 4. At index 4, we can go to index 1 because the other side will get us out of the array. And then right here, we can go up back to 0. So we can go 5, 4, 1, 3. Or if we went up to 2, we can go down to 4. Then down to index 1, and we know that we can go to index 3 from there. So the answer is true, because there's two ways to do it actually. Let's see whether we can program the problem on the screen. So over here, I've set up the main method with our testing example and the method that we're going to be using. In order to do this successfully, we're going to use a recursive method. This is because at any index in the array, there's 3 scenarios. The first scenario is that we're successful, we're at index 0. The second scenario is that we've already been to that index. And if we've already been to the index again, that means we haven't found a 0, so we have to return false there. And then the third scenario will just go to the next index. So we can go up to here, or we can go down to here. And then we can do that in a recursive manner so that we don't have to write a huge lengthy piece of code. So to do that, I'm going to create a new array or a new method. I'm going to call it recursive. And it's going to input the array. And it's also going to get an index I. Our first scenario is that array of I is equal to 0, in which we can return true, because we've met the condition. The other scenario is that we've already been to that index. But how can we count that? Well, we can use an array list to tell us what indexes we've already been at. So I'm just going to create a private list integer of reached. And inside this method, I'm just going to set reached to a new array list. So if reached.contains I, that means we've already been to that index, so we're going to return false. But we want to keep reached up to date, right? So all we need to do now is add I to reached. So now we've set up 2 out of 3 of the conditions that can happen in recursive. What is the third one? Well, it is going to the next indexes. However, we don't want to go to the next index if it's out of the array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a boolean answer equals false. And if I plus array of I is greater than array.length, and I'm just going to copy this, and it is less than or equal to 0, then answer is equal to answer or recursive of array of I plus array of I. So what does this do? It says that if array of I plus array of I is within the array, then we're going to make answer equal to answer or recursive of array of I plus I. The reason we're doing OR is we're saying that if one of them is false and another one of them is true, we want the true because we know we can get there somehow. And then we're going to do a very similar thing with the array of minus. So I'm just going to change these all to minuses. And then now all we have to do is return answer. And then here, we need to return recursive of array start. So let's debrief on what we did. So we created a recursive array that will check 3 things. The first thing is it'll say whether the current position is 0. And if it is, we're going to return true because that's what we want. Else, if the array list reached already contains I, then we're going to return false because we've already been to this position and we've already done the rest of the code. So we return false so that this recursive method doesn't keep happening. And then we're going to add I to reached so that the array list can be up to date. And then for the third part of the recursive method, we're just going to call the other parts of, we're going to call the method again for I plus array of I and I minus array of I if it's inside the array. And then obviously we want to return answer because we're returning a Boolean type here. So let's run this. As you can see, when we run our code, there is a slight problem. And this problem is that these aren't static. So let's change these all to static. And now let's try running the program again. Okay, so it seems like I made a silly mistake. We're going to change these to greater than 0. And then now we need to change these to less than. And now let's run our code. Now we get the expected value of true. So with this recursive method, we're able to go through the array and check our 2 conditions and then call the recursive method again. So I hope that this helps you solve the problem and see you soon.